I am Stephanie, 34 years old, and raising my daughter Harper alone since the divorce. When a package from my estranged parents arrived for her 7th birthday, her eyes lit up with excitement. She tore into the wrapping, revealing a pink dress that made her squeal with delight. But as she examined it closer, her little body went rigid. "What is this, Mommy?" she whispered. When I looked, my hands started trembling. Hidden inside were messages no child should ever read. If you are watching this, please let me know where you are from. In the comments, hit like and subscribe before I continue with what might be the most difficult story I have ever shared. Life as a single mother was never the future I imagined for myself. After Craig and I split 3 years ago, I poured everything into creating stability for Harper. Our small 2-bedroom apartment became our sanctuary, filled with finger paintings and weekend movie nights, with homemade popcorn. I worked remotely as a graphic designer, which allowed me to be present for school pickups and sudden fevers, though the financial strain was constant. My relationship with my parents, Gerald and Diane Patterson, had always been complicated at best. Growing up in their pristine suburban home in Connecticut meant rigid expectations and conditional love. Every achievement came with criticism about how it could have been better. Every mistake was documented and referenced for years afterward. My father, a banking executive with a reputation for ruthless efficiency, ran our household with the same cold precision. My mother, a former beauty queen turned country club socialite, specialized in backhanded compliments and public perfection. "Stephanie, your science fair project won first place, but imagine if you had started earlier instead of procrastinating. You might have been selected for the state competition," my father would say, his voice flat with disappointment despite my success. "That dress looks lovely on you, dear. It really helps minimize your problem areas," my mother would whisper while straightening my collar before church. When I met Craig in college, he represented everything my parents despised. He was artistic, spontaneous, and from a working-class family in Nevada. But he made me laugh, encouraged my dreams, and for the first time I felt truly seen. "He will never provide the life you deserve," my father proclaimed during our first holiday dinner together. "Artists starve, Stephanie. You need security," my mother added, sliding a brochure for law school across the table. Despite their objections, Craig and I married in a small ceremony that my parents attended with tight smiles and designer clothes. Their wedding gift was a check with a note. For when reality sets in, I should have recognized it as the harbinger it was. In some ways, they were right about the marriage. Craig struggled with commitment to a steady job, preferring to chase his next big artistic inspiration. The practical details of life, like bills and doctor's appointments, fell increasingly to me. But what ended our marriage was not his career choices, but his infidelity with a gallery owner who promised to showcase his work. "We told you so," was all my mother said when I called sobbing after signing the divorce papers. For Harper's sake, I maintained minimal contact with my parents. Occasional phone calls, dutiful Christmas cards, and rare visits, where my mother criticized my parenting while my father questioned my financial decisions. Harper barely knew them beyond the expensive but impersonal gifts they sometimes sent, usually accompanied by comments about how they could provide so much more if only I would come to my senses and move closer to them. As Harper's 7th birthday approached in early May, she bubbled with excitement, making elaborate guest lists and changing her mind daily about her cake flavor. "Chocolate with strawberry filling, no vanilla with rainbow sprinkles. Wait, can we have both?" she would ask, her gap-toothed smile impossible to resist. We settled on a small celebration at the local park with 5 of her closest friends. I had saved for months to afford the unicorn-themed decorations she coveted and the custom cake from the bakery downtown that everyone raved about. Her actual birthday fell on a Thursday, but we planned the party for the Saturday after. On Wednesday afternoon, the day before her birthday, a delivery truck pulled up outside our apartment. The driver carried a large box wrapped in silver paper with an elaborate bow. "Special delivery for Harper Patterson," he announced, checking his clipboard. "Who is it from?" I asked, though I already suspected. "Card says it is from Gerald and Diane Patterson," he confirmed. Harper came running at the sound of her name. "Is that for me? Is it a present?" "Yes, sweetie." It looks like Grandma and Grandpa sent you something for your birthday." Her eyes widened. My parents rarely acknowledged her birthday beyond a card with a $20 bill. Last year, they had forgotten entirely. "Can I open it now, please?" she begged, bouncing on her toes. I hesitated. My parents' sudden interest made me uneasy, but Harper's excitement was palpable. "Okay, but let me get the camera so we can send them a thank you video." As I retrieved my phone, I tried to quiet my suspicions. Perhaps they were finally making a genuine effort to be part of Harper's life. Maybe turning 60 last month had softened my father's outlook. I wanted to believe the best for Harper's sake. Little did I know that this seemingly innocent gift would shatter our world and force me to confront the toxic patterns I had tried so hard to escape. Our living room was bathed in golden afternoon light as Harper settled on the floor with the large silver box in front of her. I positioned myself across from her phone, ready to capture her reaction. "Okay, birthday girl, go ahead and open it," I encouraged, pushing aside my lingering concerns. Harper attacked the wrapping with the unbridled enthusiasm only a soon-to-be 7-year-old can muster. Silver paper flew in all directions as she worked to reveal what was inside. The box underneath was white with a gold-embossed logo from Bellamy's, an exclusive children's boutique I could never afford. "It is so fancy," Harper exclaimed, carefully lifting the lid. Inside, nestled in layers of tissue paper, was a dress. Not just any dress, but the kind featured in children's fashion magazines and worn by celebrities' daughters. It was pink, Harper's current favorite color, with a full tulle skirt, satin bodice, and delicate pearl embellishments along the neckline. It looked like something a princess would wear to a royal ball. Harper gasped, her eyes wide with wonder. "It is so beautiful." She stood up, holding the dress against herself. "Can I try it on right now?" "Please, Mommy." Of course, I smiled, genuinely pleased by her joy. Whatever my issues with my parents, they had at least chosen something Harper would love. As Harper rushed to her bedroom to change, I examined the box for a card or note. Tucked into the tissue paper was a cream-colored envelope with Harper written in my mother's distinctive handwriting. Inside was a card featuring a cartoon princess that read, "To our darling granddaughter on her 7th birthday. May this dress make you feel as special as you are to us. We wish we could see you more often. Love, Grandma and Grandpa." The message seemed innocent enough, but the last line carried the familiar guilt trip. Still, I decided to focus on Harper's happiness rather than my parents' manipulations. "Mommy, can you help me with the zipper?" Harper called from her room. I went to assist her, finding her struggling with the back of the dress. As I reached for the zipper, I noticed the exceptional quality of the fabric. This dress had likely cost hundreds of dollars, an extravagant gift that highlighted the disparity between what my parents could provide and what I could afford on my own. "There you go. Turn around and let me see," I said, stepping back. Harper twirled the skirt, billowing around her like a cotton candy cloud. "Do I look like a princess?" "Absolutely. The most beautiful princess in all the land," I replied truthfully. The dress fit her perfectly, as if it had been custom-made. But as Harper continued to admire herself in her mirror, her expression suddenly changed. Her brow furrowed as she reached toward the inside of the collar. "What is this, Mommy?" she asked, her voice dropping to a whisper. "What is what, sweetie?" I moved closer. Harper's fingers were touching something inside the collar of the dress. "There is something scratchy here." I peered at where she was pointing and noticed a small piece of paper sewn into the seam of the collar, almost invisible unless you were looking for it. Carefully, I extracted it and unfolded a small note written in my mother's handwriting. "Harper, ask your mother why she keeps you from your real family. We could give you so much more." My stomach dropped. I quickly crumpled the note in my fist before Harper could read it, but her curious eyes had already caught a glimpse. "What does it say, Mommy? Why are you making that face?" "It is just care instructions." I lied, forcing a smile. "Why do not you keep looking at how pretty you are while I check the rest of the dress to make sure there are no pins or tags left in it?" As Harper returned to admiring her reflection, I began a more thorough examination of the dress, my hands shaking slightly. In the hem, I found another hidden note. Your mother denies you the advantages we could provide. A better school, ballet lessons, summer in Europe. My hands trembled harder as I continued searching. Inside a decorative pocket, another note. She failed at her marriage. Do not let her fail you too. Behind a pearl button. We have a college fund for you. Ask why she refuses it. Each discovery sent waves of nausea through me. The beautiful dress was a Trojan horse designed to plant seeds of doubt in Harper's mind about my parenting and our life together. It was manipulation of the cruelest kind, using an innocent child as a pawn. I must have made a sound because Harper turned from the mirror, her face clouding with concern. Mommy, are you okay? I forced myself to breathe normally. Yes, honey. I just found a loose thread I need to fix before you wear this for your party. Can I keep it on a little longer? She pleaded. Actually, sweetie, I think we should save it for your party. We would not want to get it dirty before then, I suggested, desperate to get the toxic garment off my child. Harper's face fell slightly, but she nodded. Okay, can you help me with the zipper again? As I helped her change back into her regular clothes, I noticed her subdued manner. Is everything all right, Harper? She hesitated before asking Mommy, why do not we see Grandma and Grandpa very much? The note said something about real family. My heart shattered. Despite my efforts, she had read enough to plant the exact seed of doubt my parents intended. I sat on her bed, patting the space beside me. Come sit with me for a minute, I said gently. When she joined me, I took her small hands in mine. Families come in all different shapes and sizes. Some people see their grandparents every day, some only on holidays, and some hardly ever. It does not mean anyone loves anyone less. It just means that sometimes grown-ups need space to be the best versions of themselves. Her 7-year-old mind struggled with this concept. But do not they want to see me? Of course they do, I assured her. But sometimes the way they want to be grandparents and the way I want to be your mom do not match up very well. Does that make sense? She nodded slowly, though I could tell she did not fully understand. How could she? The complexities of toxic family dynamics were difficult even for adults to comprehend. Tell you what I said, forcing brightness into my voice. Why do not we call Grandma and Grandpa right now to thank them for the dress? You can tell them all about your birthday plans. Harper's face brightened. Can we video call them? I want to show them how it looks on me. We will try, but they might be busy. If not, we can leave a message, I said. Knowing full well my parents rarely answered unexpected calls, preferring the control of returning them at their convenience. As predicted, the call went to voicemail. Harper left an enthusiastic thank you, mentioning how excited she was to wear the dress at her party. I added a brief thank you for the thoughtful gift, keeping my tone neutral despite the rage building inside me. After tucking Harper into bed that night with an extra story and reassurances about her birthday celebrations, I returned to the living room and laid the dress out on the coffee table. With surgical precision, I began examining every inch of the garment, finding a total of 12 hidden notes, each more manipulative than the last. Your mother is keeping you from the life you deserve. We have a beautiful room waiting for you in our home. Ask your mother about the trust fund. She refuses. Your father left because your mother pushed him away. By midnight, I had documented each note with photographs and placed them in a folder on my phone labeled Evidence. My hands had stopped shaking, replaced by a cold resolve. This calculated attack on my parenting and my relationship with my daughter crossed every conceivable boundary. It was emotional abuse aimed not just at me but at a child. As Harper slept peacefully in her room, I made a decision. This would be the last time my parents used a gift as a weapon. Tomorrow would bring difficult conversations and painful decisions, but for tonight, I focused on removing every last note from the dress with a seam ripper and needle. If Harper had her heart set on wearing it for her party, she would do so without carrying my parents' poison next to her skin. Sleep evaded me that night as memories flooded back, illuminating a lifetime pattern I had normalized for too long. The dress incident was not an isolated event, but the culmination of a calculated strategy my parents had employed throughout my life. My earliest memory of their gift manipulation came on my 8th birthday. After begging for months, they finally presented me with the coveted bicycle all my friends had. Gleaming red with streamers on the handlebars, it seemed like a dream come true, until the conditions emerged. "This bike stays in our garage," my father announced. "You may ride it when your grades are satisfactory and your chores are completed to our standards." What should have been a simple childhood joy became a control mechanism. Some weeks I never earned the right to ride at all. When I complained that other kids could ride their bikes whenever they wanted, my mother's response was cutting. "Other parents settle for mediocrity, Stephanie. We expect excellence." As I entered adolescence, the gifts became more sophisticated, but the strings more entangling. For my 16th birthday, they surprised me with a car, a modest sedan compared to the luxury vehicles they drove, but still more than most of my peers received. "Your own car," my father proclaimed, dangling the keys. "Now you can drive yourself to the SAT prep classes we have enrolled you in. 3 evenings a week and Saturday mornings." When I expressed interest in joining the school newspaper instead, the car privileges were mysteriously revoked due to insurance complications. They reappeared once I agreed to the prep classes. College brought physical distance but not emotional freedom. They paid my tuition at the business school they selected, though I had dreamed of studying art. Each semester, a new laptop or printer arrived with the unspoken reminder of who controlled my future. "We invest in success," my father would say during our monthly phone calls, where he interrogated me about my grades. It was in my sophomore year that I met Craig in a literature elective I had taken as my one allowed fun course. His passion for creating beauty rather than wealth was intoxicating. When he encouraged me to take more art classes, I did so secretly using the money I earned from a campus job to pay for them. The discovery was inevitable. My mother made a surprise visit to campus and found my dorm room filled with canvases and sketches. "Is this what we are paying thousands of dollars for?" she demanded. "Finger painting." The next gift that arrived was a leather-bound planner with every hour pre-scheduled with business courses, networking events, and career counseling appointments. Inside was a note. "A successful life requires successful planning." I returned it unopened with my own note. "I am changing my major to graphic design." It was my first real act of defiance. In response, they reduced my allowance to barely cover my dorm fees, forcing me to work 2 campus jobs while maintaining my course load. By graduation, the pattern had become clear, though I still lacked the vocabulary to name it. Each gift from my parents was a beautiful Trojan horse, designed to reassert control whenever I strayed from their vision. My wedding to Craig represented my ultimate rebellion. After they failed to dissuade me with everything from career statistics about artists to private investigators' reports on Craig's family, they switched tactics to appear supportive. "We just want you to be happy," my mother claimed with a practiced smile at our engagement dinner. Their wedding gift was extravagant, a check for $20,000 with a note suggesting we use it as a down payment on a suitable home. When we instead used it to fund Craig's art studio and a modest honeymoon, the temperature dropped significantly. Holiday gifts became passive-aggressive jabs like self-help books on financial management and marriage counseling gift certificates. As Craig's art career struggled to launch, their predictions about our financial instability began to seem prophetic. The strain showed in our marriage, though it was less about money and more about the pressure to prove my parents wrong. "Maybe they were right," Craig said during one particularly heated argument about our budget. "Maybe we were naive." Those words created the first real crack in our foundation. If Craig, who had once been my ally against their materialism, was wavering, perhaps I had been wrong all along. That doubt created distance between us, space that eventually allowed his affair with gallery owner Natalie to blossom. When our marriage collapsed, my parents did not just say "I told you," so they orchestrated what they called a fresh start package. A fully furnished apartment in their city, a job at my father's friend's company, and private school enrollment for Harper. All I had to do was admit my failure and return to their sphere of influence. "Think of Harper," my mother urged. "She deserves the best opportunities." but I recognized the familiar pattern. Their help would come with constant surveillance and criticism. Harper would become another pawn in their control games. So I declined and moved us to a different state, finding remote work that allowed me to rebuild our lives on my terms. Their response was cold withdrawal, punctuated by occasional gifts to Harper that always contained subtle digs. A dollhouse for Christmas came with miniature furniture, like what she could have in a real house. Art supplies arrived with notes about developing marketable skills, unlike her father. I intercepted most of these messages before they reached Harper, trying to preserve her innocent relationship with grandparents who sent nice things. I wanted her to be spared the manipulative subtext that had defined my childhood. Until now. Until they went too far, planting their poison directly into my daughter's mind with those hidden notes. As dawn broke after my sleepless night, I understood with crystal clarity that this pattern would continue indefinitely, unless I took definitive action. The vibration of my phone interrupted my thoughts. A text message from my mother. Did Harper receive our special delivery? We would love to see her reaction. Another arrived moments later. We are thinking of visiting for her birthday tomorrow. We could take her shopping for accessories to match her dress. The audacity was breathtaking. Not only had they weaponized a child's birthday gift, but now they planned to invade our space without invitation to further their agenda. My fingers hovered over the keypad, tempted to unleash years of repressed anger. Instead, I set the phone down without responding. This confrontation would not happen on their terms or through the safe distance of technology. Some reckonings needed to happen face to face. As Harper's bedroom door creaked open and her sleepy face appeared, I tucked away my fury behind a birthday morning smile. "Happy birthday, my big 7-year-old. I called out, arms open for a hug. Today would be about Harper's joy. Tomorrow would be about protection and truth. The dress with its hidden daggers had finally shown me what I needed to do, not just for myself, but for my daughter's emotional well-being. As we shared birthday pancakes shaped like unicorns, my phone continued to vibrate with messages and calls from my parents. I silenced it, focusing instead on Harper's delight, as she opened the art set and books I had carefully selected for her. Unlike the expensive dress, these gifts came with only one string attached: unconditional love. After Harper went to bed that night, exhausted from a day of birthday celebrations, I spread the pink dress across my kitchen table. Though I had removed all the hidden notes, their cruel messages still seemed to radiate from the fabric. My parents had called 17 times throughout the day, escalating from casual inquiries about the gift to increasingly demanding messages about our lack of gratitude. "We spent a fortune on that dress. The least you could do is acknowledge it properly," my father's most recent voicemail growled. Sitting at the table with a cup of tea gone cold, I opened my laptop and typed emotional manipulation through GIFs into the search bar. For the next 3 hours, I read article after article about narcissistic parenting, psychological control tactics, and the concept of GIFs with strings attached. The terminology was new, but the patterns described were painfully familiar. One phrase particularly resonated: "The gift is not a gift if it comes with obligation." At 1 a.m, I called Jessica, my closest friend, who had witnessed much of my struggle with my parents over the years. Despite the hour, she answered on the third ring. "Steph, is everything okay?" I poured out the whole story, my voice shaking as I described finding the hidden notes and Harper's confusion. "Those manipulative monsters," Jessica hissed when I finished. "Please tell me you are not letting Harper wear that dress tomorrow. She has her heart set on it." I removed all the notes, but that is not the point. "They are escalating, Jess. Threatening to show up unannounced, trying to poison Harper against me. I do not know what to do." Jessica's response was immediate. "You need to cut them off, completely." "They are still her grandparents," I said, voicing the conflict that had kept me tethered to them despite everything. "No, Steph. Grandparents do not try to turn children against their parents. That is not love. That is warfare." Her words cut through my lingering doubt. She was right. What my parents had done went beyond mere criticism or controlling behavior. They had deliberately tried to damage my relationship with my daughter. I have an emergency session with Dr. Levine tomorrow morning, I said, referring to the therapist I had been seeing on and off since my divorce. I am hoping she can help me figure out exactly what to say to them. And to Harper. Good. And if you need backup when you confront them, I am there. Just say the word. After hanging up, I created a detailed document organizing photographs of each note along with a timeline of similar incidents throughout my life. Seeing it all laid out chronologically made the pattern undeniable. This was not normal family tension or generational differences. It was a systematic campaign of control and emotional manipulation spanning decades. In the morning, I dropped Harper at school with extra hugs, then headed straight to Dr. Levine's office for my emergency appointment. The therapist's reaction to the photographs was one of controlled professional concern, but I caught the flash of shock in her eyes as she swiped through the images. In all my years of practice, this is one of the more calculated attempts at parental alienation I have seen, she said, finally. These messages were clearly designed to undermine your authority and create confusion for Harper. What do? I asked, my voice small despite my resolve. They are threatening to visit, to take Harper shopping. I am afraid of what they might say to her when I am not around. Dr. Levine leaned forward, her expression serious. Stephanie, we have discussed boundaries with your parents many times over the past 2 years. You have tried compromise. You have tried limited contact. You have tried carefully worded requests for respect. None of it has worked because they fundamentally do not recognize your right to set these boundaries. I nodded, the truth of her words sinking in. I think it is time to consider what a complete break might look like, she continued. Not forever necessarily, but until they can demonstrate real change and respect for your role as Harper's mother. What about Harper? How do I explain why she suddenly cannot see her grandparents? Children are remarkably adaptable, and they understand fairness and kindness intuitively. Frame it in terms she can understand about respect and how we treat people we love. You do not need to share the full adult complexity with her. By the time I left Dr. Levine's office, I had a plan. I would meet my parents in a public place away from Harper and lay out clear conditions for any future contact with us. If they refused to acknowledge their behavior or showed no willingness to change, I would inform them of my decision to sever contact temporarily. As I drove to pick up Harper from school, my phone rang again. My father's number. This time I answered and put it on speaker. Stephanie, finally. Your mother and I have been trying to reach you for 24 hours, he barked without greeting. I know. I have been busy with Harper's birthday. Too busy to send a simple thank you. That dress cost over $500, custom made. Of course, he would lead with the monetary value. Thank you for the dress. Harper liked it very much. Liked, just liked. We thought she would love it. Did she find the special messages? My mother's voice now indicating I was on their speakerphone as well. My blood ran cold at her casual reference to their manipulation. Yes, she found some of them. That is actually something we need to discuss. Discuss what we simply wanted her to know, how much more we could offer her, my father said dismissively. I would prefer to have this conversation in person, I replied, sticking to my plan despite my rising anger. Are you still planning to visit? We are already here, my mother announced triumphantly. We arrived this morning and are checked into the Grand Hotel downtown. We thought we would surprise Harper after school with a shopping trip. They had actually flown in without confirmation, assuming I would simply accommodate their demands. The audacity was so typical, yet still shocking. That will not work for today, I said firmly. Harper has after-school activities. But I can meet you at the hotel restaurant at 4:30. Without Harper, that defeats the whole purpose of our trip, my mother protested. Nevertheless, that is what is possible today. I will see you at 4:30. I ended the call before they could argue further. At school pickup, Harper bounded into the car with the exuberance of a child still riding the birthday excitement wave. Can I wear my princess dress to the party tomorrow? She asked immediately. Of course, I assured her. I fixed all the loose threads. Yay, Grandma and Grandpa will be so happy when they see the pictures. I tensed. Harper, sweetie, I need to talk to you about Grandma and Grandpa. Her face grew serious, sensing my tone. Are they okay? They are fine. In fact, they are in town right now. Her eyes lit up, so I quickly continued. But I need to have a grown-up talk with them first, so you are going to have a play date with Emma and her mom this afternoon. But if Grandma and Grandpa are here, why cannot I see them? Her lower lip trembled slightly. I chose my words carefully. Sometimes grown-ups need to sort things out before children get involved. It is my job as your mom to make sure all your relationships are healthy and good for you. Like how you wouldn't let me play with Zoe anymore after she kept taking my toys and blaming me. I nearly smiled at her perfect analogy. Exactly like that. Sometimes we need to establish better rules even with family. Harper nodded, seemingly satisfied with this explanation. I called Emma's mother, Lauren, who immediately agreed to take Harper for the afternoon once I briefly explained the situation. After dropping Harper off, I went home to prepare for the confrontation. I transferred the photos of the notes to my tablet for easy reference, changed into a professional outfit that made me feel armored, and practiced the key points I wanted to make. As I drove to the hotel, I realized my hands were steady and my resolve firm. For the first time in confronting my parents, I wasn't seeking their approval or understanding. I was standing solely as Harper's protector, and that clarity brought unexpected strength. The hotel lobby was opulent, exactly the type of place my parents would choose to emphasize their financial superiority. I spotted them immediately at a corner table in the restaurant, my mother's perfectly coiffed silver hair and my father's ramrod straight posture unmistakable even from a distance. Taking a deep breath, I walked toward them, ready to fight the most important battle of my life. Not for my own wounded inner child, though she would benefit too, but for Harper's right to grow up free from the manipulative patterns that had nearly destroyed me. The hotel restaurant buzzed with early dinner conversations, providing a murmur of background noise as I approached my parents' table. They were dressed impeccably, as always, my mother in a designer suit and my father in tailored slacks with a cashmere sweater that probably cost more than my monthly rent. "There she is," my mother exclaimed with forced brightness as I approached. She half rose for an air kiss that I sidestepped, choosing instead to directly take a seat across from them. Her smile faltered momentarily before she recovered. "Where is our birthday girl?" "Harper is not joining us," I stated firmly. "This conversation is between adults." My father's jaw tightened. "We flew 1,500 miles to see our granddaughter Stephanie. Not to have coffee with you." "I did not invite you to fly here," I reminded him. "You decided that on your own, just like you decide everything else." "Well, we thought after our special gift you might be more welcoming," my mother interjected, her voice honeyed but her eyes sharp. "Did Harper love the dress? Did she appreciate how much thought went into it?" Their complete lack of self-awareness was staggering. I took a deep breath and placed my tablet on the table facing them. "Let us talk about exactly how much thought went into it," I said, keeping my voice level as I opened the photo gallery. I turned the screen toward them, displaying the first hidden note. "Would you like to explain this?" "This?" My mother squinted at the screen while my father reached for his reading glasses. Recognition dawned on both their faces simultaneously. But neither showed a hint of remorse. "Those were just little notes of affection," my mother said dismissively. "Grandmother to granddaughter." Affection, I swiped to the next photo. "Harper, ask your mother why she keeps you from your real family. We could give you so much more." Is that affection, Mother? Or is it a deliberate attempt to undermine my relationship with my daughter? "You are overreacting," my father cut in. "We simply want Harper to understand the opportunities she is missing by being kept away from us." "Opportunities? You mean like being constantly criticized and manipulated, having every gift come with strings attached, being made to feel that love is conditional on performance?" My voice remained steady, but I could feel heat rising in my cheeks. "We gave you every advantage," my father retorted, color rising in his face. "The best schools, music lessons, summer camps, all the things you are denying Harper." "You gave me things, Dad, not advantages." Things with conditions and expectations and emotional price tags so high I am still paying them off in therapy. My mother's expression hardened. Therapy. Of course. Blame us for your failures instead of taking responsibility. This is not about blame. This is about boundaries. I swiped through more photos of the notes. You hid 13 messages inside a child's birthday present, all designed to make her question her mother and her life. Do you have any idea how manipulative that is? How potentially damaging to a 7-year-old? For a moment, genuine confusion crossed my mother's face. We were just trying to let her know we care about her future. By telling her that her father left because I pushed him away, by suggesting I am deliberately keeping her from opportunities, that is not care, Mother. That is cruelty. My father leaned forward, his businessman persona taking over. Stephanie, you have always been overly sensitive. We are simply trying to maintain a relationship with our only grandchild, whom you have systematically kept from us since the divorce. I have kept healthy boundaries, I corrected, which you consistently ignore or stomp across. This time you went too far. Too far, my father scoffed. What exactly do you think we did wrong? We sent a beautiful gift to our granddaughter. A gift is freely given, I replied. What you sent was a weapon designed to create division between me and Harper, and it is just the latest in a lifelong pattern. My mother's face registered genuine surprise. Pattern? What pattern? Every gift you have ever given me came with control attached. The bike I could only ride when I earned the privilege. The car that was really just transportation to the classes you chose for me. The wedding check that you expected to dictate how we lived. And now these notes to Harper. It has always been about control, not love. A waiter approached to take our order, sensed the tension, and quickly retreated. My father used the interruption to collect himself. This is absurd. We have only ever wanted what is best for you and now for Harper. No, I said firmly. You have only ever wanted what you decided was best. There is a difference. So, what exactly is the purpose of this meeting? My mother asked, her voice turning cold. To accuse us of being terrible parents and grandparents, to make us feel guilty for wanting to be involved in Harper's life. The purpose is to establish clear boundaries going forward, I replied, shifting into the plan I had prepared. If you want to have a relationship with Harper, there will be new rules. My father's eyebrows shot up. Rules. We do not need rules to see our own granddaughter. Actually, you do. First, no more surprise visits. You will ask permission before coming and respect my answer if the timing does not work. Second, no more undermining my parenting with comments or hidden messages. Third, gifts are just gifts, not opportunities for manipulation. If you cannot follow these boundaries, you will not have access to Harper. My mother's face reddened. You cannot keep our granddaughter from us. We have rights. Grandparent rights? I laughed without humor. Go ahead and consult a lawyer. I already have. In our state, you would need to prove I am an unfit mother or that denying visitation would harm Harper. Good luck making that case with evidence of your attempting to alienate her from me. My father's expression darkened dangerously. This is how you repay everything we have done for you, with threats and accusations. I am not threatening. I am stating facts. Your behavior has become harmful, and my primary responsibility is to protect Harper. From her loving grandparents, my mother's voice rose sharply, drawing glances from nearby tables. We are trying to give her advantages you cannot provide. You are trying to buy her loyalty and turn her against me, I corrected. And I will not allow it anymore. My father stood abruptly, towering over the table. I will not sit here and be lectured by my own daughter about parenting. We raised you to be successful, and instead you threw it all away on a failed marriage to a starving artist. Now you live in a shabby apartment, barely making ends meet, and you have the audacity to criticize us. His voice had risen to the point where other diners were openly staring. I remained seated, refusing to match his intensity. Dad, please sit down. Do not tell me what to do, he snapped. We are leaving. When you come to your senses and realize Harper deserves better than your stubborn pride, allows you can contact us. As he threw his napkin down, I delivered the final boundary. Until you can acknowledge what you did was wrong and commit to respecting my role as Harper's mother, we will not be in contact. I will be blocking your numbers and returning any packages you send. My mother gasped. You would cut us off completely, your own parents. I would protect my daughter from the same emotional manipulation I endured. Yes. This is ridiculous, my father sputtered. Diane, we are leaving. Stephanie clearly needs more time with her therapist to work through her delusions. As they gathered their things, my mother leaned down, her voice low and venomous. When Harper grows up and resents you for keeping her from opportunities and family, remember this moment. This is your choice, not ours. No, Mother. This is the consequence of your choices. The door remains open when you are ready to respect boundaries and have a healthy relationship. They stormed out of the restaurant, my father pausing only to throw cash on the table for their untouched drinks. Several diners watched their exit before turning curious eyes to me. I sat alone, surprisingly calm in the aftermath of the storm. A middle-aged woman at the next table caught my eye. Are you all right, dear? I nodded, gathering my tablet. Yes. For the first time in a long time, I think I really am. As I drove to pick up Harper from her playdate, I rehearsed how to explain the situation in age-appropriate terms. There would be questions, confusion, perhaps even tears. But navigating that difficult conversation was infinitely preferable to allowing my parents' poison to seep into Harper's developing sense of security and self-worth. My phone buzzed with a text from my father. Your mother is in tears. I hope you are satisfied with yourself. I deleted it without responding and blocked both their numbers. The guilt tactic that would have devastated me just days ago now bounced off the armor of righteous maternal protection. When I arrived at Lauren's house, Harper ran to me with a drawing she had made colorful and joyful. Look, Mommy, it is us at my party tomorrow. I hugged her tightly, inhaling the scent of crayons and innocence. It is beautiful, honey. Let us go home. Did you talk to Grandma and Grandpa? Can I see them tomorrow at my party? The moment of truth had arrived sooner than I expected. I knelt to her level in Lauren's entryway. Sweetie Grandma and Grandpa had to go home early. They will not be at your party. Her face fell. But why? Did not they want to see me? They do want to see you, but right now Grandma and Grandpa and I need some time apart to figure out how to be better with each other. Do you remember how you and Zoe needed a break from playdates until she learned not to take your toys? Harper nodded solemnly. It is like that. We need a break until they can learn some important rules about respecting our family. Will they ever learn? She asked, her voice small. I hope so, honey, I really do. As we walked to the car hand in hand, Harper looked up at me. Mommy, was there something bad in my pretty dress? You looked sad when you were checking it. My heart clenched. There were some notes that were not very nice. But I took them all out. So now it is just a beautiful dress for a beautiful birthday girl. Good, she declared with 7-year-old certainty. Because I really want to wear it tomorrow. And you will, I promised, helping her into her booster seat. It is your dress now, not theirs. Just like your life is yours, not anyone else's to control. She did not fully understand the significance of my words, but someday she would. And when that day came, she would know that her mother had stood firm against manipulation and control, even when it came disguised as love and expensive gifts. The week following Harper's birthday party was a blur of emotional aftermath and practical considerations. The party itself had been a success, with Harper twirling in her now note-free pink dress among friends, blowing out candles on her unicorn cake, and declaring it the best birthday ever. If she missed her grandparents' presence, she did not show it, too absorbed in the joy of celebration with friends who loved her unconditionally. But the fallout from my confrontation with my parents manifested in unexpected ways. Despite blocking their numbers, they found alternative methods of contact. A certified letter arrived from their lawyer 3 days after the party, vaguely threatening legal action for grandparent rights and demanding a visitation schedule. Rather than succumbing to panic, I took the letter to Marissa Goldstein, a family lawyer Jessica had recommended. In her comfortable office with degrees lining the walls, I felt a surge of confidence in having professional support. Legally speaking, their position is weak, Marissa assured me after reviewing the letter and hearing my account of events, including the hidden notes. Grandparent visitation rights typically require showing that the parent is unfit or that denial of visitation would harm the child. Their own actions undermine both arguments. So they cannot force visitation. Not likely, though, they may try to drag you through court proceedings out of spite. The real question is whether you want to cut contact completely or establish structured, supervised visitation with firm boundaries. I considered this carefully. I would prefer they have a relationship with Harper, but only if it can be healthy. Right now, I do not trust them not to continue their manipulation behind my back. Marissa nodded, making notes. A reasonable position. I suggest we respond with a letter outlining conditions for potential future contact, including acknowledgement of their inappropriate behavior agreement to respect your parental authority and initially supervised visits only. They will hate that I said imagining my father's reaction to being supervised like a child. Precisely. It establishes who holds the power in this relationship going forward. You. If they truly want a relationship with Harper, they will eventually comply. If their pride matters more than their granddaughter, that tells you everything you need to know. By the end of our meeting, I felt armed with both legal protection and emotional clarity. Marissa would handle all communication with my parents going forward, creating a buffer that prevented them from manipulating me directly. As a practical precaution, I also implemented security measures around our home. I installed a video doorbell to monitor any unexpected visits and spoke with Harper's school about updating her approved pickup list to explicitly exclude my parents. The school counselor, Miss Jenkins, was understanding and supportive. Unfortunately, we see contentious family situations quite often, she explained during our meeting. We can flag Harper's file to ensure only authorized adults can pick her up, and teachers will be notified to watch for any attempts at unauthorized contact. The conversation naturally evolved into discussing how Harper was coping with the sudden change in family dynamics. She has asked a few questions about why her grandparents left so quickly, I admitted. I have tried to explain in age-appropriate terms about healthy boundaries and respect. Miss Jenkins offered valuable guidance. Children are incredibly resilient, but they need honest, simple explanations. Avoid demonizing your parents while still validating that their behavior was inappropriate. Would you like me to have a few check-in sessions with Harper? I gratefully accepted, knowing that an additional supportive adult could only help Harper process the situation. These practical steps provided a framework for security, but the emotional work continued at home. One evening, about 2 weeks after the confrontation, Harper approached me while I was preparing dinner. Mommy Emma's grandma and grandpa take her for ice cream every Friday and buy her lots of presents. Why are our grandma and grandpa different? I set down the knife I was using to chop vegetables and invited Harper to sit at the kitchen counter. These moments of curiosity were opportunities for honest conversation. Families are all different, sweetheart. Some grandparents live close by and see their grandchildren all the time. Some live far away. And some, like Grandma and Grandpa Patterson, have trouble understanding how to be kind and respectful to everyone in the family. Harper's brow furrowed in concentration, like how they put mean notes in my birthday dress. I tried to hide my surprise. You knew about those notes. She nodded solemnly. I saw one that said you were a bad mommy, but that is not true. You are the best mommy. Tears sprang to my eyes as I pulled her into a hug. Thank you, sweetie. That means everything to me. Why would they say mean things about you? Do not they love you? The innocent question cut to the heart of decades of pain. How do you explain narcissistic parenting to a 7-year-old? They do love me, but they do not always know how to show love in healthy ways. Sometimes people think love means controlling others or making them feel bad so they will do what you want. But real love means respecting people and wanting them to be happy even if they make different choices than you would. Harper seemed to consider this deeply. Like how you let me choose between ballet and soccer even though you really wanted me to try ballet. I smiled at her perfect analogy. Exactly like that. Love is about supporting people's choices, not forcing your own wishes on them. So we cannot see Grandma and Grandpa until they learn not to be controlling. That is right. And I hope someday they will learn because I would like you to have a relationship with them, but only if it is a healthy one. These conversations continued over the following weeks, each one an opportunity to reinforce ideas about healthy relationships and boundaries. Meanwhile, I worked through my own complex emotions in weekly sessions with Dr. Levine. I keep waiting to feel guilty, I confess during one session. They have sent emails through their lawyers saying I am cruel for keeping them from Harper, that I am punishing them unfairly. Part of me still questions if I am overreacting. That is the conditioning talking Dr. Levine observed. You were raised to prioritize their feelings over your own, to doubt your perceptions when they conflicted with theirs. Breaking that pattern is hard work, but it feels different now. When I think about those notes they hid for Harper to find, I do not feel guilt. I feel righteous anger. Dr. Levine smiled. That is progress. Anger can be healthy when it motivates protection of ourselves and those we love. You are not cutting them off to punish them. You are setting boundaries to protect Harper from manipulation. There is a world of difference. As we approach the 1-month mark since the confrontation, my mother attempted a new tactic. A large box arrived addressed to Harper containing an elaborate dollhouse that must have cost thousands of dollars. The accompanying card read simply, "We miss you. Love Grandma and Grandpa." No hidden notes this time, but the message was clear: we can provide what your mother cannot. Rather than hiding the gift, I used it as another teaching moment. Harper, Grandma and Grandpa sent you this dollhouse. It is very nice of them, but remember what we talked about with gifts. She nodded seriously. Gifts should not try to make you do things or feel bad. That is right. Do you think this is that kind of gift? Or just a nice present? She studied the dollhouse thoughtfully. I think they might be trying to make me miss them and be mad at you for not letting me see them. Her perceptiveness amazed me. At 7, she was already developing awareness of manipulation that had taken me decades to recognize. What do you think we should do? I asked. Can we keep it if I know it is that kind of gift? I would really like to play with it. I laughed at her practical approach. Yes, we can. Knowing the difference is what matters. Through Marissa, I sent a brief message acknowledging receipt of the dollhouse and reiterating our conditions for resuming contact. There was no response. Work became another unexpected arena for recovery. When I needed to take time off for legal consultations and Harper's counseling appointments, I reluctantly explained the situation to my boss, Alicia. To my surprise, she was extraordinarily supportive. Family boundaries are health boundaries, she declared. Take whatever time you need. Your projects can wait a few days. This validation from someone outside the situation reinforced that I was not overreacting or being unreasonable. Normal, healthy people understood the need for boundaries against manipulation. As weeks turned into months, we established new traditions to replace the gaps left by extended family. Sunday dinners with Jessica and her family became a weekly highlight. Harper joined a soccer team, developing friendships with teammates and their families. Our world expanded in ways it never could have under my parents' controlling influence. 6 months after the confrontation, the certified letters finally stopped. My parents had apparently grown tired of paying legal fees for responses that never changed. Through mutual acquaintances, I heard they had taken an extended European cruise, telling friends they needed a break from family drama. Their retreat did not feel like defeat or even victory. It simply confirmed what I had always suspected: their desire for control outweighed their love for Harper. Given the choice between a relationship on healthy terms or no relationship at all, they chose their pride. But where there should have been sadness, I found unexpected peace. Harper was thriving secure in the knowledge that her mother would protect her from anyone who did not respect her well-being, even family. I was growing stronger, setting boundaries in other relationships and recognizing my worth beyond my parents' approval. The pink dress still hung in Harper's closet, a reminder not of manipulation but of resilience. She wore it occasionally for special events, completely unaware of the transformation it represented for both of us. What my parents had intended as a weapon had become a symbol of our liberation. One evening, as I tucked Harper into bed, she asked a question that showed how far we had come. "Mommy, do you think Grandma and Grandpa will ever learn how to love without controlling?" I smoothed her hair back from her forehead. "I do not know, sweetheart. People can change, but they have to want to. All we can do is keep our door open if they ever decide to walk through it the right way." "I hope they learn," she said sleepily, "but I am okay if they do not. We have lots of people who love us the right way." As I kissed her goodnight, I marveled at her wisdom. Out of all the gifts my parents had ever given, the greatest had been unintentional, this final push toward freedom and self-worth for both of us. 6 months turned into a year, and Harper's 8th birthday approached with none of the anxiety that had shadowed her 7th. We planned a space-themed party at the local planetarium, reflecting her newfound obsession with astronomy. The pink dress had long since been outgrown and donated, replaced by a collection of science t-shirts and comfortable jeans that better suited her active lifestyle. In that year of distance from my parents, both Harper and I had flourished in ways I had not anticipated. The constant low-grade anxiety that had been my lifelong companion gradually dissipated. Decision-making became easier without the reflexive consideration of what my parents would think. My graphic design business expanded as I took creative risks that previously would have felt too uncertain. For Harper, the change manifested in growing confidence and emotional intelligence beyond her years. The school counselor, with whom she continued occasional check-ins, remarked on her unusual ability to identify manipulative behavior in playground dynamics and remove herself from unhealthy situations. She told a classmate yesterday that she would not play if the game required her to be mean to another child, Miss Jenkins reported during one of our updates. When pressed, she said, "Real friends do not make you choose between being nice and being included." That is remarkably mature insight for an 8-year-old. Pride swelled in my chest upon hearing this. The painful lessons of our family rupture had translated into valuable emotional tools for Harper, potentially sparing her years of the people-pleasing and boundary struggles I had endured. Our healing journey had not been without professional support. Dr. Levine introduced me to several therapeutic practices that proved transformative. Foremost among these was inner child work, allowing me to reconnect with and nurture the part of myself that had been wounded by my parents' conditional love. "Imagine your childhood self," Dr. Levine would guide me. "What would she need to hear from you now?" This practice initially felt awkward but gradually became powerful. I learned to parent myself with the compassion and validation I had always craved, which in turn enhanced my ability to parent Harper with healthy attachment rather than anxious control. We also incorporated ritual into our recovery. On the anniversary of the confrontation, Harper and I created a freedom wall in our apartment, a corkboard, where we pinned representations of choices we had made independently. Harper's contributions included her decision to quit ballet in favor of soccer, picking out a new bedspread without consulting anyone, and standing up to a friend who had been pressuring her to share test answers. My own pins reflected career choices, dating decisions made without fear of judgment, and small daily acts of self-trust. Together, the collection illustrated our growing confidence in our own inner guidance rather than external approval. Our circle of support expanded organically during this time. Jessica and her family remained steadfast allies, but we also connected with a single parents group through Harper's school, forming friendships with others navigating complex family dynamics. Monthly potluck dinners with this chosen family became a highlight for both of us, providing the warmth of community without the toxicity of manipulation. The only contact from my parents came on Harper's 8th birthday when a card arrived containing a check for $1,000 and a brief note for Harper's college fund. No strings attached. I studied the card carefully, searching for hidden barbs or subtle manipulation. Finding none, I discussed it with Dr. Levine. It could be a genuine olive branch, she suggested, or it could be another attempt to re-establish contact on their terms. The question is, what feels right to you? After careful consideration, I deposited the check in Harper's college account, but sent only a brief acknowledgement through Marissa, rather than opening direct communication. It was a small step, neither rejecting their gesture nor rushing back into potentially harmful dynamics. One unexpected area of growth emerged in my dating life. Prior to the confrontation with my parents, I had avoided serious relationships since my divorce, unconsciously fearing I would replicate the unhealthy patterns I had grown up with. With new awareness of these patterns, I cautiously began dating again, now able to identify red flags that previously would have seemed normal. 3 months into a promising relationship with Mark, a landscape architect I met through a client, he made a comment about my outfit that carried a hint of the criticism I had grown up with. Rather than ignoring it or doubting my perception, I addressed it directly. That comment felt critical in a way that made me uncomfortable, I told him. I need you to understand that I am sensitive to that type of communication because of my history. His response told me everything I needed to know about his potential as a partner. Instead of defensiveness, he showed genuine concern, apologized, and asked thoughtful questions about how to communicate better. This healthy response to boundary setting was so foreign to my experience that I actually cried afterward, overwhelmed by the contrast with my parents' reactions to similar conversations. As Harper's birthday party approached, Mark asked if he could attend, having met Harper several times during casual outings. I would like that, I said, but I want to be clear that we are still getting to know each other and Harper's emotional well-being comes first. No grand gestures or attempts to win her over, okay? Absolutely, he agreed. I am happy to be just another adult celebrating her special day. This measured introduction of Mark into Harper's life exemplified my new approach to relationships, prioritizing careful discernment over people-pleasing or rushing attachment. The birthday celebration itself was joyful chaos, with 12 children exploring the planetarium exhibits before gathering for cake under a dome of projected stars. Harper was in her element, explaining constellations to her friends with infectious enthusiasm. As the party wound down and parents arrived for pickup, I found a quiet moment with Harper near the gift table. Did you have a wonderful birthday, sweetheart? She nodded emphatically. The best ever. And guess what? I did not even think about Grandma and Grandpa all day. Her innocent observation struck me with its profundity. The absence of my parents, which once would have felt like a painful void to be filled with excuses or explanations, had simply become our normal. Harper was not damaged or deprived by their absence. She was thriving. That evening, after tucking an exhausted but happy Harper into bed, I sat on our small balcony with a cup of tea, reflecting on the journey of the past year. The painful confrontation that had initially seemed like an ending had actually been a beginning, the first step toward authentic living, unconstrained by manipulation and conditional love. The deeper lesson had emerged gradually. True love, whether parental, romantic, or friendly, never requires diminishment of self. It expands rather than contracts, liberates rather than controls, celebrates growth rather than punishing independence. By standing firm against my parents' manipulation, I had not only protected Harper but had modeled for her the fierce self-respect I hoped she would carry throughout her life. I had also learned that family is defined not by blood but by healthy attachment. The people who had rallied around us during the past year, who had respected boundaries and offered support without expectation of return, were more truly family than those who shared our DNA but could not honor our autonomy. Most importantly, I had discovered that breaking generational patterns of control and emotional manipulation was not just possible but necessary. Though painful in the short term, the disruption of toxic dynamics created space for new, healthier patterns to emerge. By refusing to continue the cycle, I had given Harper a different legacy, one of emotional intelligence and clear boundaries. My phone chimed with a text message from Jessica. Just checking in. How did the Space Princess do with her party? I smiled at her thoughtful check-in and replied, Amazing day. She is over the moon, literally. Thank you for everything this year. Jessica's response came quickly. That is what real family does. No thanks needed. As I sat in the quiet evening watching stars emerge above our small balcony garden, I felt a profound sense of peace. The journey of healing was ongoing. But the hardest part, the initial break from toxic patterns, was behind us. Ahead lay the gradual unfolding of lives built on authenticity rather than appearance, on genuine connection rather than control. The pink dress with its hidden daggers had been meant to wound, to create division and doubt. Instead, it had become the catalyst for liberation. In trying to tighten their grip, my parents had ultimately lost their hold entirely, freeing Harper and me to discover who we truly were, beyond their narrow definitions and expectations. Have you ever had to set difficult boundaries with family members to protect yourself or your children? I would love to hear your experiences in the comments below. Remember that recognizing manipulation is the first step toward freedom from it. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe for more real-life experiences about finding strength through difficult family dynamics. Thank you for listening to my journey, and I hope it helps you trust your instincts when something feels wrong, even when it comes disguised as love.